Bass. Yeah, yo. Yeah, man. So today, and this is, by the way, this is MC Sean Love, or as they know me in the beat making world, Metal Gear Solid Beats. And today we're gonna take this show on the road, you know, and we're gonna actually go digging. But and you know, a lot of people, you know, this is beat video tutorial number 4. Y'all checked out beat video tutorial number 1, where I told y'all the basics of the SP-1200 tutorial video. Can you see me? Tutorial video number 2, where I told y'all how to filter a bass line. I really should get a tripod if I'm gonna keep doing this. Tutorial video number 3, where we sampled live instruments using the machine. And now tutorial video number 4, we're gonna go digging. And there's a lot of philosophies that apply to digging. I mean, a lot of people really get to know their artists. They get to know their records. They got a lot of record knowledge, much more superior to me. I mean, I've got some record knowledge, but it's not really my forte. So, you know, what I like to do sometimes, and you know, I got a nice collection, and I got more where that came from. What I like to do sometimes is I like to go to one of the thrift shops, you know what I mean? And now that I'm in Cali, we got thrift shops everywhere. And what I like to do is I like to pick out records just based on the title of the record, based on how the picture in the front looks like, based on the year. Usually like 69 to 79 is like a sweet spot, because you know, after late 79 they started making records with synthetic instruments and stuff. So, you know, dates, covers, and I like to surprise myself. But you know, surprise is never a surprise, like, you know, if you don't really follow it through. So what I do is I go with $5 in my pocket. I got $5, I got a backpack with $5 in my pocket. I've got a spring water in here, and I got some room for records. I got my Egyptian musk, I got some gum, and I'm ready to go, you know? Alright, son, the hoodie is on, you know what I'm saying? The longboard is in my hands. The burger time shut off. I'm not gonna even leave out the front door this time. I'm gonna leave out the back door and show you what I'm working with. It's a lot different than Jersey around here. It's always freaking beautiful, man. Hey. Slim pickings, man. Slim pickings. I switched the rules up a little bit though. I decided that I only wanted to spend $1. So what I did was I bought two 45's for $1. It was 40 cents each, so with tax it came up to just under $1. And what do I got here? And by the way, I mean, the rules I'm gonna go by is I got my SP-1200, I got my 10 seconds. Anything that goes into this beat, from drum sounds to, you know, kicks, snares, drum rolls, bass lines, horns, pianos, everything has got to come from these 2 records. I can't use any drum kits. I can't use any, you know, I don't use drum kits anyway, but I can't use any drum kits. I can't use any special little machine factory sounds or anything like that. I can't use Reason. I just got to use my SP in these 2 records. So, what a 45 is, for some of y'all that don't know, most of y'all know, but it plays at 45, you know what I mean, instead of 33, which is a normal record speed, so it plays a little faster. The problem with that is, if you want to speed it up even more for the SP-1200, it cuts down on your speed up time. So you know what I got to do is I got to employ some special tricks. The 2 records I bought were the Ventures Soul Breeze on one side, and it's backed with Hawaii 5-0, you know, and this is a Liberty record, and it's in really good condition. I got it for 40 cents. I would have to guess that this is from the late 60s, even though it doesn't have a date on it. I could be wrong about that. But anyway, I mean, everybody knows the theme to Hawaii 5-0. But I know the Ventures for playing that, and I never heard Soul Breeze before. If I did, I don't remember it. And I'm banking on it to be a dope record, you know? And you know, when you're buying 2 records and you want to make a whole beat out of 2 records or $1, you basically got to go there and be very selective. The other record I bought is from 1958. It's called Need Ya Lovin' by Ronnie Hawkins, and it's backed with Mary Lou by Ronnie Hawkins. And I can tell just by looking at this record, it's on roulette, and from the date it was made, and it's in good condition. I can tell that this is going to be one of them, I don't even know what the genre of music is, but it's one of them quartets, like dudes singing in the background. It's, you know, it's 50s music. It's like 50s quasi-rock music. And I bet you that I'm going to get a few instruments in here, and I bet you I might even get some vocals in here that I can kind of, plot around the beat, put it into the background a little bit and make it sound fresh. So here it is, folks. I mean, $1 for these records. Everything that comes from here has got to come from these records. So even if there's no immediate drums, I got to find drums. Even if there's no immediate bass line, I got to find bass lines. I might get lucky and find myself a loop. I'll be pulling every single trick out of my hat that I got to make that happen. And on top of that, I'm going to probably teach you guys a few things that you might not have learned from me before anyway. And one thing is going to be speeding up the record manually with your hands so you can take samples. Because when I'm in a situation where I've got records that, you know, I'm setting a rule for myself where I can't use other records, I might have to maximize that sample time, especially on a 45, where when you speed it up on the turntable, it doesn't get very much faster than it's supposed to be played. So you got to speed it up manually with your hands. So you probably learned that today. Another thing you're going to learn is when you're limited with your sampling time or the length of a sample inside the SP-1200, you can do a trick with it to actually extend the sample. Now it's not actually how the musician was going to play it, but it's kind of like an echo effect. It's looping. And at the end of that, at the end of your sample, basically, like, depending on what you design and what you decide, you can extend that sample a little bit so you have enough room for that sample to really work in your sequence, especially when you're limited for time, which is definitely going to happen with 45s. All right, let's get started. Checking out what I got here. This is a 50s record, so I expect it to sound what it's going to sound like, but I'm going to find some sounds in here that I like. One thing I'm going to have to do is, if you notice, this is at normal speed. This is at normal speed. When you hear the record, this is how it's meant to be played. They were going in, yo. They were going in, son. But then when I speed it up, it's not much faster. So that's going to affect my timing on the SP-1200. If I slow that down, it might be just the thing for a little echo, right? See what other instruments we got on here. Woo! Damn, dude. They don't make them like this, you know. Drake's producer is not putting out funk and soul this way, you know. And these are some white boys from the 50s. Crap. All right. But I can't use that, you know? I can't use that. So what I'm banking on is side B. Because I'm thinking that with these musicians being as ill as they are, what I'm thinking is with these musicians being as ill as they are in the drums, that they're going to have something fresh for me on side B. Soul Breeze, Little Caesar music. Dope. But see, if I want to speed it up and sample it properly, what I'm going to have to do, since playing on 45, I can't speed the record up as much as I normally would. What I'm going to have to actually do is when I get into sample mode here, and I start sampling into my pads, what I'm going to have to do is I'm actually going to have to speed it up myself. I'm going to have to go back later and get those drums from the beginning. So, you know, that's an extra tip for y'all. You know, if you want to get drums from a record and you don't hear a blank drum, you know, where the instruments pull out, you can get that beginning part. And most records back in the day had at least a drum roll in the beginning. So that's my kick snare right there, and my hi-hat right there. I've got pretty much everything I need, I think. Pad A, Bank A, pads 1 through 8. I got all the records that I took from all the samples I took from the Ventures, and I took my main sample, which is going to be this. And that's the meat of it. But in order to make it last, what I had to do, and I'm going to teach y'all something today, I had to go into Truncate it. and I went to truncate by pressing setup 19. And then I'm going to decide that I'm going to truncate A, right? So I'm truncating A, and when I do that, what I got to do is I got to take advantage of a special feature. Now nobody wants a sample that's just going to go But the beauty part of it is if you assign the next sample in line to the same channel, so let's just say these are both assigned to channel 7, it'll stop when that next sample comes in, giving you just enough space to loop it and make up for that little space that you couldn't get because you didn't have enough sample time. And this is the way truncating looks, especially when you want to edit samples. That's one thing, but when you want to add like a little loop at the end of it to try to extend your sample so it works. I'm going to kind of go back and forth between the master control and the pads to show you what I'm doing. Just to give an example of something that needs some truncating, let's take a listen to this. Alright, so I needed to add some truncating to the end of pad 5. So what I do is I go to setup function, I press 19 on my keypad, and I'm going to truncate, right? Yes. Enter. And what you see there is you see a start point and you see an end point. A5, that's the pad, and the length, this number over here, this what represents that loop part, right? Now the starting point, right, the one that's that number there, 7.3, the one I'm controlling, that's being controlled by these two sliders here. This one takes big chunks out. So look, the starting point goes up a whole bunch when I move that one up, the one all the way on the left. The second one, this just takes it up little bits and pieces, right? So that number just goes up a little bit when I move that slider. All right? So that way you have some more control with that one, right? You can take big chunks with the one on the left, small chunks with the one on the right. The second two sliders here, that controls the end of your sample. Like right now it's at 16. If I want to move it down real fast, I take that slider number 3 over here and I bring it down quick. If I want to take it like little pieces of it, I could bring it down with this slider on the right, slider number 4. All right, so let's just make sure everything's as it should be, right? And then so now we're back at 0 as a starting point. Now what's the reason why it keeps echoing? Well, you know the reason is because we got to extend that sound, and it won't echo like that. It'll get cut off by the next sound that's coming through that same exact output. But see this length, the thing that's L, that's represented by basically these two sliders over here, sliders number 5 and 6. So if you notice, right now there's a big number there, it's 32, 36. I could bring that down to none and listen to my sample. But that isn't enough, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my fat slider up. When I bring it up a lot, it echoes like in a thick way, you know, where it's echoing a lot of different music. But I just need a little bit, so I brought that all the way down. I'm using slider number 6 to bring it back up to, I think it was 32, 36, something like that, somewhere around here. Now that's a lot more similar to what we had in the beginning. And when that works in the sequence, it's not going to sound all echoey like that. What it's going to do is it's going to help fill up that little fraction of space that's preventing me from really having an effective sound, you know, collision there in my sequence. You know, so if there's a little blank spot, you can use that as a crutch. And sometimes you need crutches when you're working with this kind of equipment. Basically, one whole song that's been done using the Venture Soul Breeze as the main meat of your sample, right? And then the main meat of the song. I use the main portion, which I thought was funky, as the main part of the sample, and then I break it down using the guitar parts later, right? And I took it all from this record. I took about 6.5 seconds of samples just from this record, and then I had to go back and I had to take this little piece in the beginning. And I had to chop that up so I could get my drums, because I said I was only going to use 2 records. There's no drums on the Mary Lou record we just used. What I did take from Mary Lou, however, by Ronnie Hawkins, as much as it doesn't seem like it's useful land, you listen to that record, and there's some spots in there that are valuable. Like I found some good pieces from Mary Lou, right? For example, I slowed down him saying Cadillac, right? I slowed down, I get. And when I echo that, right, when I told y'all before, set up function 12, all right, and so I also got some other stuff from Mary Lou too, because there's some funky horns in there, right? So what I found from the Mary Lou record was, I sped it up a little bit more. And I'm gonna end up echoing that second horn, right? What I'll do is I'll end up echoing the. And I'm gonna put that in over my guitar parts that I found from the first record I showed y'all from the Ventures with the yeah, I mean they're dope sounds. They're dope sounds. They can't be duplicated by any sample libraries or anything like that. And we got them, both records. We got these for less than $1, right? And you know, it forced me in a situation where I had to try to get creative and work with something that I wouldn't normally work with if I had everything, you know, created for me by like the technicians down at the machine factory, right? I had to go out of my comfort zone, actually dig up these records, go to a spot, buy them, pay $1, which is a lot less money than you're gonna get for sound kits, and it's gonna make this beat, whether you love it or hate the beat, whether you think it's dope or whether you think it's whack, it's gonna make it sound different than what the next man is doing. And that's kind of like what this hip hop thing is all about, you know. I'm gonna see before I get started, like I always do, how much time I used. So let's take a look. I got 0.7 seconds left. So that means I used 9.3 seconds for this beat. I did some quick sequences with these. And yeah, I mean, it sounds fresh. It sounds fast. It sounds like what you might have heard early on in hip hop. And dope samples. I tried to make, you know, quickly go in and make some change ups with the drums to make everything flow fluidly. But this is what we got from 2 40-cent records and, you know, everything included. So let's check out our sequences. Break it down, right? Let's switch it up.